Welcome to the MLB Coast to Coast podcast, coming to you from the West Coast. Josh Lander. I am not yet joined by Nate Weitzer, but we wanted to get this back out for you guys, the MLB Coast to Coast podcast that we did bring you last year. We are going to be sticking to player props in this. We've also got a great MLB show that Eli and Mo both put on consistently throughout the week, so want to make sure you check that out for more early lines, checking out some of the game lines, run lines, totals, things of that nature. Nate and I are going to stick to a bit more of the player props, although I imagine if we do have some best bets for you guys, that we'll be bringing them to you as well, regardless of what type of bet they are as we get on in this MLB season after the All-Star break. We are back on Friday here as I record this on July 14th, getting ahead of these lines that are coming out. I'm going to stick to some games as we did last year that are, are a little bit later in the day so that we're not worried about these early starts that we get here from time to time. Not quite as many, obviously, on a Friday, but a few that do start, shortly here. So I'm not going to be covering those quite as much, but I'm going to be touching a few player props. I'm kind of going to get in and out today, just give you guys 3 player props that I'm looking at for the day that I am also betting, give you those units. Before I get into it, I want to make sure to remind you to like and subscribe to that page. Continue to follow along. Nate will be back probably here when August arrives, I believe. He usually spends the month of July traipsing the mountainsides of the west coast of the country. So he'll be back here in a little bit, but I'll start by just jumping right in to my first pick for you guys here. And it is Ross Stripling. Not probably how you thought we would start things off as we come back here on the Coast to Coast Baseball Show. But Ross Stripling on the Giants, taking on the Pirates, and I like it. I like what the under 2.5 earned runs for him. That's minus 122 on FanDuel. That's 0.3 units that I put on that. It probably is rising a bit. I actually didn't check it right before I started recording, but last night it was minus 122. And I think people might be catching on to why that is. I would also sprinkle on under 3.5 Ks for him. He's not been striking out this year, and I think there's some pretty good value on minus 112 for him to do that. So running through some of the numbers for Stripling, like really what this bet is based on, first of all, is that he's not an innings eater. He's not expected to go out and eat innings. He's often used by the Giants as a reliever at times. And so when they're not using him as a reliever this season, they've been using him as a spot starter that really is just supposed to come in and get a few innings eaten up before they give it to the bullpen, right? And whomever is going to be a long reliever in that instance for them. The Giants have a couple good ones there. Big reason that they're doing so well right now. So, for him, just looking at what he's done recently, he's gone under this number in 3 of his last 4. And he's, in his last 3 appearances, he's had 2 starts. So considering that he's gone under while still having 2 starts and still only getting 8 and 2/3 innings in those last 3 appearances, because of so you average that out, it's like 2.5, essentially almost 3 innings that he's pitching per game, right? So with that, in that time frame, we're looking at a 3.12 ERA, which is way, way better than what he's had on the season so far, a 6.37 that he's rocking right now. That's with the 5.75 expected, though, ERA for him, and so he's sort of pitching. It's a little bit bloated. He's pitching better than the numbers might indicate for him, than the core numbers there. And part of it is in his first 9 appearances, though, he had that 7.24 ERA. That was in about 5 starts as well in those 9 appearances. So he's starting more than half the time that he's coming out there, even though they are, like I said, using him as a reliever. But that's what the Giants are doing this season, and we've seen it time and time again that they're going to see 5 pitchers come into the game for the Giants as planned, 4 at least. And so I think they'll continue to ride the strength of that bullpen, which is honestly a little bit better, even though the starters have been pitching well. They've been doing that without getting too many innings for the Giants. So that I think that continues for him, which is why I think he gets pulled before he can give up 3 runs. And he's been pitching pretty well, like I said, also going against a Pittsburgh team that just hasn't really been batting well at all. 24th in WRC plus, that's weighted runs created plus, and 24th in on base percentage. They've scored fewer than 3 runs in 3 of their last 4 games. And like I said, Ross Stripling's not going to be in there long enough to factor into the decision even. So there's no worries about, him going too long. And if the Pirates are not getting that amount of runs in 9 innings, I feel like he can hold them to under that in the max 3 innings that he's playing, in this game. So Ross Stripling under 2.5 earned runs. First bet to kick things off for you guys. I know it's super sexy. Moving on to a better name, though, named Tyler Glasnow. Let me move on to a sexier name first. I'll do a hitter, and then I'll split the pitchers up here. I am going to go Glasnow, but let me talk about Matt Olson first for a minute, because he's incredible. It's way easier when Nate's here. I can just take water while he's talking. But Matt Olson over 2.5 hits plus RBI plus runs. And I got that for plus 110 on DraftKings Sportsbook. Matt Olson is a killer, and he's going up against a pretty good pitcher. I mean, Michael Kopech, we've all seen him. I know Mo loved him last year, probably to his detriment at times. But Kopech has not been very good this year compared to what people have expected of him as well. And Olson, hitting from the left side of the plate, going against a guy in Kopech who allows most of his damage to that side of the plate. 13 extra base hits that he's given up out of 28 that he's given up on the season are to lefties. He's also giving up, I believe it's his career high. I'm looking at Fangraphs. Yeah, it's his career high in terms of the walk rate right now per 9, more than 5 walks per 9 that he's allowing. He's also giving up a ton of home runs here. These are the things that stand out. Like there's some decent barrel rate. He's giving up too many fly balls. That's why it's at about 2, almost 2. It's 1.8 home runs per 9 that he's giving up. And for Olson, like, look, he's the beneficiary. It's not fair to say he's just the beneficiary because he's in the heart of that lineup. But like, look who's batting in front of him, right? It's basically the all-star infield that's batting in front of him for the NL all-star infield. He's got 229 hits already, plus runs, plus RBI on the season. Not 229 hits. That's with runs and RBI. And that's about 2.5 per game, more than 2.5 per game that he's averaging. So the 2.5 that he's at, right? He's averaging a bit more than that. He's in a good situation where he's just incredible at home as well. And his split against righties is also really good, 275. He's got a 1.023 OPS, and his WOBA has also been really, really good, about 425 or so for Olson there. So look, even if Kopech does some damage, is able to have like a decent start, not give up the walks that he's been giving up, which have been just atrocious for him, and really the killer, because if you're giving up walks and you're giving up fly balls, you're likely giving up runs. That's why this total's all the way up at about 6 for Atlanta. I mean, that's not normal. Most baseball teams are not expected to score 6 runs in a game. Atlanta is not most baseball teams. If they get the White Sox relievers too, I just want to close with that on him, on Olson here. As soon as they get the White Sox relievers, let me say, they're going to be in baseball hitting heaven. What is that? 5.97, basically 5.98 ERA for the White Sox bullpen. You can't be giving that up as a bullpen. Opposing batting average for them is 285, and the WOBA of 361. In July. All of that was specifically, over the last 3 weeks. I should be a little bit more clear, but like on the season, those numbers are like a little bit better. So I just wanted to sort of stamp the point home by giving you the extreme and dramatic stats there. So let's finish it off, like I said, with Tyler Glasnow, because that is kind of my guy, man. Like I know he can't pitch innings, but I love watching Tyler Glasnow throw the ball because of the Ks that he gets. He's just whiffing you. I mean, getting it past you, not with ease, but man, he's finding his spots and he hits it. He hits them hard. I'm going with a double here, player performance double, I should say, for Tyler Glasnow as the Rays are taking on the really, really bad. Who are they taking on right now? My bad. They're taking on the Royals. I didn't know if it was the Royals or the A's. Kind of get them mixed up right now for understandable reasons. But they're playing the Royals, one of the worst lineups, if not the worst lineup in baseball. Let's say it's the worst lineup in baseball right now. A player performance double for him, 8 Ks with their win. The Tampa Bay money line is plus 110. I was looking at just the Ks for him. He doesn't need innings to get those Ks. So I was just really hoping that I could find some juice on like 6.5, 7.5, but even 7.5 is like minus 120 for him. So I just took the over 7.5 in terms of 8+ Ks with the money line, because they're minus 290 on that. I think it's pretty likely that that they win for sure. And I do I think it's a ripe spot for him to get these amount of Ks against the Royals. Just they're dead last in WRC plus. They have a 25% K rate versus right-handed pitching. They have allowed the last 6 of the last 7 pitchers that they faced to go over their K total. I believe 4 for 4 when it came to facing righties like this. So look, like I said, not an inning monster right now at all. He's not even close, right? You could get him for 200 to 1 on the Cy Young there. Don't suggest it because he's got the stuff to be a Cy Young if he can get the innings. And obviously he's coming back from Tommy John, so that's also a big part of why they're not going to throw him out there like that. Maybe a candidate for next year. We'll see, how he ends the rest of this season and into the playoffs. But he's that K monster I'm talking about here, 13+ Ks per 9. I mean, he's in the 97th percentile in both whiff percentage, K percentage, and he's averaging more than 1.5 strikeouts per inning, which is absurd. In just 41 2/3 innings this year, he's got 64 strikeouts. I mean, that's where that 13 plus Ks per nine comes from. And he just rocked the Royals last time he pitched them. He just needed 5 innings to get the 12 strikeouts that he got for them. So 8 strikeouts is 4 less than that against pretty much the same lineup here that he'll be facing. Maybe you want to take a few of the alts. I wouldn't fault you if you were thinking about laddering this a bit and sprinkling a tiny bit, on like, I think right now I'm looking at it on FanDuel. For him to get 11 strikeouts is plus 545. For him to plus 550. For him to get 12 strikeouts is plus 900 on FanDuel. So for him to repeat that performance, plus 900, not the worst bet either. I'll take the 8 that I think he's highly capable of in 4.5 innings, if not 5, if he gets them, and add that there to the win for a team that is very much so expected it's the best in the division in the league versus the worst in the league. Let's put it that way. And I can get him to get 8+ Ks with just adding that to it. So I'm going to do that. And if you want to play just the Ks, I get it. But I think that by the time he's coming out of the game, he should have a couple run lead in this one. So I'm feeling pretty good about Tyler Glasnow. And that is all the time that I have for you guys today. Make sure to like and subscribe to that page. Coming back to you next week, 5 days a week, we'll be bringing you this MLB stuff. I'll be back. Nate, not yet. Probably another after next week, we'll have him back, and we'll both be throwing a couple picks at you so we can get more for you guys. Maybe on Monday, I'll have the weekend to look over things a bit more, and I can get you maybe 4 or 5 picks in there if I feel comfortable with it. But I'm just telling you what I'm betting. So, as long as I'm betting it, I'll tell you. I don't know if I want to be betting 4 or 5 things, spreading it out like that. I'll find out for you guys. Either way, until I see you on Monday, happy betting.